Good afternoon. My name is Dr. John Martin Petzet, the Director of Choral Activities at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and I am tickled pink to be here with you. I'm so grateful to Kim from the South Dakota Music Educators Association for inviting me to give 2 sessions this year. So I've been teaching since 1997, so I guess that's 23 years. Grad school was in there somewhere, but I feel like I know a thing or two about teaching, so these will be some good reminders for veterans and some very helpful information, I think, for new folks. So this is what I wish I'd known my first year of teaching, how to prepare for yours. And there's a handout that goes along with this, and I will find a way to get this to you. I'll do my very best. But now is the Zoom session. So I just created a first-year teacher slogan, and it says, be teachable, be organized, and build build community. And I believe that's really true. I mean, especially as music teachers, we're performing in the community. We might have a private voice studio or something around, and so we're teaching students and we're getting to know their parents, and they come to the recital. Maybe we're singing a Veterans Day program, but we are building community. And in that regard, you have to be organized, but you also have to be teachable, because even at the collegiate level like I am, I'm still learning things all the time. And I'm not talking about the pandemic. I'm just saying if the pandemic weren't happening, I would be learning new things as well. But there's some real, there's a nucleus of information that is really integral to first-year teaching, first 5 years even, really. So let's dig into it. The first thing I put down here is, let's say that you got a job and you're excited. You don't know a whole lot about it, but you're hired. Super exciting. Congratulations to you. The first thing I would do, even probably before I was hired, is do some preliminary research. So who was at the school before you? Are you following somebody that was there for 32 years and you're fresh out of school? I would want to know that going into the position. And actually, I've actually talked to people on the phone who had the position and I was the incoming director. And I just called them, and they gave me the lay of the land, everything from the repertoire the kids sing to what kind of student walks the halls of this school. How is the principal to work with? You name it. I mean, why not? And the truth is, will you get some biases? Probably. Will you get some opinions that aren't true? Probably. But it's just helpful. And come on, when we talk to people, we gauge who is the source. Maybe when we know something about their experience as a teacher. So all that stuff has to be, considered when you're talking to somebody. But it's helpful to have really any information going into the position. It's extremely helpful. So I encourage you, sometimes you got to take the information with a grain of salt. But it's helpful and it's wise. What about the history of the choral program? Have they, is this a school in Texas where the principal calls you 30 minutes after you left the contest to find out what your scores are? Is it really serious like that? Or is it a little more laid back? You might want to ask the principal what his or her vision is of the program. Maybe you don't want to do that. But these are, what are the school's traditions? Does your school sing at Veterans Day every year? Does the principal forbid you to sing a certain type of music? These are all things you'd want to know. What kind of school is it? What is the socioeconomic level that you're dealing with? How diverse is the school? Is it a private school? All of these things. What does the building look like? For some people, they want to be in a school that looks vibrant and fairly new. Other people don't mind being in a school that maybe looks older, maybe is a little more rundown. I've talked to some teachers that really enjoy going into a challenging school and really working with those kids. They really identify with that type of student. And so again, you hear people say all the time about people and jobs. They say, it just wasn't a good fit. And that can mean a lot of different things. But part of this preliminary research is knowing that you have any chance of being successful. And if a lot of things that you find out don't fit with your mentality or your personality, your disposition, then it's just good to know those things going in. So, and definitely, you're going to visit the site, but it may be in the principal's office and out. And so you'll want to sort of go back and walk through the school, or maybe you'll want to meet the other music teachers or something, depending on the size of school it is. But you need to find out everything you can. Okay, classroom. I would want to ensure that my classroom is a pleasant, decorated, social, festive place for the kids to learn. And I don't think it really matters what level. You certainly want it to be a pleasant place. Decorated, if it's a high school choir room, hopefully you're going to have a bunch of trophies around. You don't have to have the window border like maybe an elementary school classroom might. So it's not one size fits all. But in part of that decoration is your personality. What kind of room do you want? What kind of environment? I hear music teachers talk all the time, and they want kids to be drawn to their classroom. It's sometimes they can't keep them out. Kids want to come there during lunch. They want to come there during study hall. They feel comfortable there. I know I would want my room to be a place like that. I certainly need my own planning period to get things done. I need some quiet. I need some time away from the students so that I can be energetic when they come. But I think we all want an inviting place. A social place. You want your kids to be comfortable, and we want our kids to get to know each other. I know at the collegiate level, sometimes the kids sing in choir 2 years together, and I asked John to go give something to Tracy, and he says, well, who is that? And that's a whole other interest session, but we want it to be social and festive. I certainly hope you all approach your rehearsals with an encouraging, upbeat manner. I know that's what I aspire to every day. So that's a little bit about your classroom. Classroom procedures. You definitely, especially as a first-year teacher, they don't know you, so you want to have clear expectations and policies. What are the rules? Is there a disciplinary system at the school? How will you approach the classroom? Are you going to be firm and easygoing? The old adage, I really believe, and some people don't, but I really believe it still applies to a degree, the old don't smile before Christmas. I don't follow it literally. I wouldn't advise, be stern and serious, but especially if you come in as a 22-year-old and you're going to be teaching 18-year-olds, and maybe you're a shorter person. I'm just saying these are things about our physiology that can make our kids think that we're just like them. You're really young. Maybe you're not very tall. Maybe you're not very muscular. Whatever description you want to have, but they only know what they see, and they don't know you because you're new. And so you want to. I would just be very rule based until you're there a little while to establish, your expectations, and not even the rules on the side of the classroom, the wall, but just kind of your demeanor. And I would definitely want to come in, if you're Mr. Easygoing and hey, we're going to have fun and let's just throw the rules out the window, I think you're probably going to have some problems, especially nowadays. I think they need structure more than ever before. Again, you don't have to be pointing to a rule every 5 seconds with a wand or an antenna or whatever. But you want to refer to those things, and you want the kids to know right away that you're upbeat, but we got a job to do, and we need to get things done. And so you can smile and you can joke with them, but you just want to you want to be I keep coming back to rule-based. That's probably not the best word, but you want to have a trajectory, a direction, and a mission. So one of the best ways to do that is to establish a student handbook. I think a lot of schools don't have one, but if you've got a handbook of rules that you can refer back to, that way when there is a problem, a parent issue, you've got it documented right here. It goes out to the parents and kids, and it's all right there. And you give a copy to the principal, and they'll back you up because they've read through it, or they should have. And it's all plain and simple right there. The handbook will have everything in it. Procedures for collecting money, travel procedures. They will, of course, parents will sign a form so that they have read all this. Annual performances, what are the dates? Booster clubs, what are the who's in charge, and how do we raise money, and what are the events, and what are the trips? Maybe we're taking a trip out of state, or maybe even overseas, whatever it is, it's all got to be in there. So you are super organized. And a handbook can have other things, a list of concerts, as we just said, rules, forms, greeting to parents, what you want to accomplish that year, the value of music, some philosophical things, maybe your philosophy of music education, how music makes students better people, expectations, absentee policy, eligibility regarding sports. I mean, this is a multi-page document, and you're not trying to make it long. There's just a lot to this, and don't reinvent the wheel. Ask your friends for theirs. You know, you can find these things online, and you can at least use that to draft your own. If a kid couldn't go to contests because they're failing math, the justification and the rules are all in there. So as far as classroom rules, definitely for elementary school and middle school, I would have 5 to 7 rules on a piece of poster board somewhere, very clearly visible in the classroom, because that's just going to come in handy. And you don't have to be mean about it. You just say, remember, no gum in choir, point to the thing, and what's rule number 3? And you can do it with a smile. I mean, a positive attitude and a smile makes a huge difference. I wish I'd known that in my early career. Let's talk about repertoire. You know, you really just need some stock repertoire for all levels, so that when you walk into a brand new school and you spend the whole summer planning, you have some music that you can just, maybe you haven't had time to choose new repertoire. So that's your go-to music. Maybe it's Come Travel With Me by Scott Farthing for men's chorus, Old Time Religion, very repetitive, fun for your high school choir by Moses Hogan, Eyes the By, which is a piece in my other session. Simple and unison, and it's just easy music that you can just get them started making some good sounds and let their voices be free, and just teach them, get them a quick concert together without 3 weeks of planning repertoire in the summertime. If the budget is small, then borrow music. There's other schools around. You might have to drive 45 minutes. That's a win-win, because you meet another teacher, draw upon their experience, make a friend, networking, and you also can borrow music from their library. So, I mean, that's a total win-win. If there's another high school or another middle school nearby and it's a bigger city, then great, do that. Save yourself a drive. But there's ways to do this. Sight reading curriculum. I've heard a lot of stories about, music organizations, not ACDA, but state organizations that elect to take the sight reading out of state music festivals. I think that's a shame. I think we all need to be teaching our students. Where else are they going to learn it? They need to learn it from us. And so have a sight reading. You really need 2 things. You need a counting system, whether it's triplets, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, or whether it's, 1 and 2 and T and 4 and whatever it is. And if your school has a band and orchestra, you might want to go find out what they do, so you can sort of align all those together. It may not be possible, but it's worth thinking about. But you want a counting system that you use, and then you need a solfege or a sight reading system. Maybe you like numbers, maybe you like solfege, but you need a system that you use, and we got to teach our students to read music. Maybe it's sight reading factory, maybe it's the Jensen sight singing method. There are plenty of other systems to, online systems, Quaver, there's smart music, there's plenty of online methods, but you need to find one. Accompanist, get the best one you can find. I don't know that it's ever been easy to find a qualified accompanist, but get the best one you can find. Hopefully you've got one every day. Does the district pay? Hopefully they do. Maybe you can convince a friend to come in and babysit their kids on the weekends. I don't know. Be creative. We're the most creative people out there. Let's talk about relationships. I used to think, well, I just come in and do my job, and then I realized that, if you can establish a rapport with your principal, with the band director and the orchestra director, and the maintenance person, so important. I had this lady come by at my last university job, and she wanted to buy World's Finest chocolate bars from my sons were selling them. And after a while, I just started giving them to her. They're $1 a piece, and I was like, this lady cleans my office. And man, I gave her a couple of those World's Finest chocolate bars, and she would come in and wet mop my office once a week. And it's not because I wanted her to mop my office. It was just because it's the right thing to do. Treat people with respect. And when I did that, she just treated me like a king. Your administrator may not be a music person. They might be a football person or a speech and debate person. But if you can find out what they're into and stop by their office, bring them a Christmas gift or some Halloween candy, or find out what they're into and stop by and talk about soccer for a couple minutes once a week. If they're into soccer, you don't even have to be into it. You just stop by because it's smart. I used to think this was fake, and I just don't believe that anymore. You're taking an interest in your colleagues. And in this particular case, these colleagues can do some really nice things for you. So it would be wise to respect them, get to know them, and have them on your side. Because when you need $10,000 for risers, or you got a problem with a student, you want that person in your back corner, in your back pocket. So guidance counselors who put students into our classes, we need these people on our side. So you would be wise to take this advice. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about filling up people's buckets. This is just the way we should live, filling up people's buckets all the time. You have to have a negative conversation every once in a while, but the more we can fill up people's buckets and just take advantage of, wow, that was really great. I saw what you said there. I heard your recital. It was terrific. That's what we're called to do. Parents, if they aren't happy, stop and listen. It's never too late to correct the course. Walk the balance between, you don't want to let the parents run the show. You're the professional, but at the same time, they deserve to be listened to, and you don't want to be domineering. I don't have time for you. Get out of my way. I'm the music teacher. But so you got to walk that balance. Don't be a doormat, but also, you're the professional. So assert your abilities. Booster organizations. The only thing I'll say about this is you want to choose your parent leaders wisely. You need people that are going to think about all your kiddos, people that have an even keel perspective. You want to choose those people wisely, because once they're in those positions, if there's a problem, it might get ugly, removing them from that position. So you just want to pick people that are mild-mannered and that are truly caring for your program and want to, and then make it clear what their position entails. And that way, in other words, the parents can't be picking music for you, and you need to do the musical stuff, but let them help you with things that they can do that you don't need to do. But it needs to be well thought out when you bring somebody else in so that the boundaries are there. Teach the kids you have, help them to be successful. The grass is always greener thing is always going to be an issue. Well, if I had those kids, if I had that auditorium, if I had that principal, if I just had that school, teach the kids that you have. Teach the kids where you are. Be proud of them. Fill up their buckets. You just can't compare yourself to other schools and wish away your life. It's just not healthy and it's not constructive. Invite your administrator to your classroom. Invite the principal. Have them come see your work. It's a great way to kind of going back to the relationships thing. Counselors, if you go into the counselor and you whine about your schedule and them dumping kids in your classroom and they can't match pitch and everything, but if you have some constructive solutions, if you can go in there and say, if you will, rearrange these schedules, if you could, I'd like to have 60 kids in my choir, and this would open up a planning period for another teacher, and here's how it can work. You're going to get those people's attention because you're not just selfish and interested in you. You're finding creative solutions that create opportunities for other people as well. So be one of those people. But if you can get these guidance counselors on your side, you're not going to have kids that dumped in your classroom with no musical ability. It's just not going to happen. Don't be afraid to ask advice. Get to know retired teachers. Get to know local colleagues. Make friends. I knew a friend of mine years ago who wanted to go to grad school and wanted to have his own band program, and yet I could never get him to get out and network. I could never get him to become part of organizations. He was kind of a lone wolf type guy. And, you can serve your students and have a good program, but I think no man is an island. You need to get out there and connect with people, go to conferences. How are you going to learn? We all need friends and colleagues and people that can lift us up and fill up our buckets, and that's how you do it. Be intentional about identifying things you don't do well. Especially as a first-year teacher. Ask questions, get out there, go to interest sessions, email people, build your skill set. ACDA, whatever district you're in, National NAFME, Music Education, NATS, music clubs, these are regional things, musical theater academies. There's so many organizations you can get involved with. We talked about building community. Parents, colleagues, ask their advice. You can ask the orchestra director, or how do you, go watch one of their rehearsals. Maybe you're having trouble with block scheduling. Go find out how they do it. So many resources. Sometimes we just don't see them, but they're there. Strategies. Go sing for the coaches. Provide the national anthem for the football team. They'll love you for it. Maybe sing the fight song at a band banquet or, wherever. Go sing for the school board. Go take your small group and go sing in the principal's office. If your principal doesn't like music and hasn't supported the music program in 30 years, maybe you can change that. Find out what their favorite song is. Learn an arrangement of it. Go in there and sing it for them. Community events, of course, we do this all the time. Sing for Veterans Day, sing for the holiday parade or MLK Day, whatever it is. Find a way to tap into your community. What does your community hold dear? Find a part of that. You'll be golden, just golden. Budgets and fundraising. You need a plan. The best are those that are connected to what your students are already doing. Checking my timer here, sorry. So, things that are connected to singing. So, you can sell World's Finest Chocolate if you want to, or candles, or whatever you want. And if you can make some money and that's the way you want to go, that's fine. But man, if you're in the right area, you can go out and Christmas carol, and some of these people, wealthy people, maybe not, they'll have you come over to a Christmas party. They're alumni from your school. They'll make a nice donation to your trip. So you got Valentine's Day, you can do the singing telegrams. Maybe you have some good soloists in your choir. Maybe put some quartets together, send these kids out. People will love it, and they'll support your program. And I mean, I know people that make thousands of dollars doing this, and they don't have to sell candy or candles or any of that stuff. And it's absolutely connected to what we do every day. You can use the same music on the concert potentially as you do send out octets, groups of 12, whatever it may be. But you're engaging the community and the parents. Kids that can't afford uniforms, you got to think about this stuff. You know what? The easiest way usually to solve that problem is you just build in extra cost, extra $10, $20 for the kids that buy their uniforms. And then when you have a couple of kids who can't do choir because they just can't afford it, then the money was built into the cost, and there's extra money left over to pay for a couple of tuxedos or polo shirts or whatever it is that you're buying. And nobody's left out. That's an easy solution. Ask parents and principals and businesses for help if you're a little bit short, or some schools can't do uniforms at all. It's like wear a white shirt and black pants. And if that's your school, there's no shame in that. Just make sure they have some kind of uniform, and let them do what they can in that regard, because it's more about the music. It should be. What about your choral library? This is a project that if you walk into a new program and the choral library is just a mess, there's no organization, there's no Excel file, there's no library, you can't find anything, you may need to wait until the following summer to tackle that. You know what I mean? So if you can do it the first summer, fine. But that doesn't, you can borrow music, you can sort of walk in there and kind of see where things are. And how many pieces are you doing at one time? The whole library does not have to be in perfect order before you begin your first year at a new job. So I know for me, sometimes I think very black and white, and I walk in, it's like everything has to be perfect. And it doesn't. If the library is a mess, you'll borrow music, or use some stuff on CPDL, or you'll have what you need. You can get through a year. That's why we have that repertoire that I talked about earlier. Pull out your Moses Hogan, pull out your Mary Gertzy, or whoever it is, and I don't mean it this way, but get through your first year, and then you can organize the library. Changing voices. So the male changing voice, we know that that's a roller coaster. Find ways to build voices. Have your stock warm-ups. They don't have to be difficult. They don't have to go up the octave. They can work with a third or a fifth. I love the exercise from The Wizard of Oz. Oh, wee, oh, yo. Kids love that. It makes them feel powerful. They can march in place. There's a million of those. So, but it's really all about building the voices. Don't get stuck just singing repertoire and preparing a concert. You've got to teach them how to sing sometimes. And that's the best part anyways, because you see the light bulb go on, and you hear the sound grow and mature. You need to spend some time with individual voices, catch them in the hallway, encourage them. Man, your sound is really coming along. Did you hear it? Did you notice? They can use their phones to record themselves sometimes. Pretty soon they'll be bringing you recordings of them singing on their phones. That's what you want. You want them to be into it, thinking about it outside of class. Let them know that the developmental changes are ahead, and that there's going to be a topsy-turvy vocal, the middle school boy in the range of a fifth and all that. But you're going to get them through it. You're going to get them through it. Choose repertoire that's going to help them grow. Back in the 70s, it's like the repertoire was just, here's a new piece, here's a new piece, here's a new piece. This is SATB. And now we have all these choral series that are called Building Healthy Young Voices. And it helps so much with these advances, that these mile markers that sort of draw us to music that's great for middle school or junior high or elementary, or changing voices, whatever it is. So, watch for that stuff and use it to your advantage. And, I would encourage you to talk to your students about American Idol and these TV shows, America's Got Talent, The Voice. Um, it wouldn't hurt to talk to them about pop music and some of the dangers that are built into that. Um, we might as well talk about that now. I remember in my undergraduate degree, probably back in 95 or 96, and our band director said, um, I guess he was the music ed person, but he said, you do almost no pop music, and if you do it, you do it way at the end of the year, um, and sort of make them earn it. And I suppose that was the old perspective. I don't know that we have to limit ourselves to that kind of carrot dangling before them, or this is better than that. I do believe that as much as our kids love Phantom of the Opera and Les Miserables and all, Wicked and all this, it's not so much that it's bad music. In fact, it's not bad music, but a lot of times they're bad arrangements. And the altos are singing low Fs below the staff, and the tenors are screaming up into the stratosphere. Um, and the sopranos are way down low belting, and it's not the kind of things that build healthy voices. And so, to a degree, I identify with singing what I would call traditional choral repertoire, whether it's spirituals or folk songs or whatever during the year, to build a sound choral technique. And then once they know about vowels and breath support, then I think if you throw some pop music in there, I think with a solid foundation of singing, then they're not going to throw the technique out the window. But if you open your year with a pop show, I just think you're asking for some problems, because they never get a foundation. Now, I suppose you could argue that the juniors and seniors would show the new kids the right sound to make, even with pop music, and every school's different, and I understand that. But again, this session is about a first-year teacher. I would err on the side of vocal technique. I would err on the side of what is the best thing for my singers. And in pop music, when they're scooping up on pitches and sometimes changing the rhythm, and the tone can be more forward, more like musical theater, more splatty, more bright. The bullseye of what am I supposed to be doing can be quite skewed. And so again, and now here's another thing. If you had 4 songs on the beginning of the year concert, and one of them was a theater piece or whatever, and you don't do that every year, I mean, it's probably fine. But if 3 of the 4 are musical theater, then you're kind of running and then you try to sing, I don't know, holiday carols after that, and you're trying to sing Carol of the Bells with this beautiful sound. I think you're probably going to run into some problems. So I would just, again, I guess a lot of it goes back to your philosophy, but think about what you are after. And your first year, you would be better off to stick with traditional choral literature. That's my own philosophy. Esprit de corps. So, to a degree, each of your choirs in your school, you want to build their tribe, build their identity. Maybe if it's a high school group, maybe they do a choral retreat after school or on a Saturday. Maybe after school rehearsals. I know some private schools, they have not found a way for the curriculum to accommodate arts. I know that sounds crazy. Again, that's a whole other interest session. But maybe choir is a 0-hour class. Maybe it's at 7 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it's after school. Maybe Friday afternoon, everybody comes to the choir room and they sing karaoke for each other. And it's just a team building idea. There's a lot of neat creative things you could do with that. Maybe a new music movie comes out and everybody meets on Saturday at 2 o'clock to go see this new movie. Of course, you'd have to check it for language and content. But if it was something like Mr. Holland's Opus, you could probably, that's really all I know, but I'm just saying if it was tame, you could do it. But anything that builds solidarity and pride amongst your singers, it's just gonna pay off big time in your program. Transportation. If you need buses for the year, have your dates set up and get your requests in soon. You want to have a list of dates so the parents have it all, but you're not going anywhere if someone beats you to your dates. So get your dates into transportation, and just be organized and be first. You'll always have a handful of kids that can't get a ride to the concert for whatever reason, and so you just get another kid who can go pick them up. It's a little bit of extra legwork for you, but after a while you can just have designated students to take care of that. Assessment. We don't have a lot of time to talk about assessment, but you just want your ideas to be clear. Maybe for your students, with cell phones anymore, and the middle school students have them, you can just have them record themselves on their phones singing a passage or something. They can even record their choir parts. Of course, with all of the online databases and the pandemic has helped, all this software is coming out of the woodwork to help with learning parts and things like that. They can record themselves singing on a phone and send a file to Smart Music, and you can listen to it. And my son's middle school band does that. So there's just a lot more options for assessment and just general, learning music or what have you, that are available today. Student relations. I grew up on the confrontational side of things. To me it was like, I'm the director and you're goofing off, and where's your instrument, and things have changed a lot. So I approach every student conflict. I typically start with 3 words. Are you okay? Whether it's a kid misbehaving on a choir trip, or just not having a pencil in class, or whatever it is. Rather than start with jumping in the middle of somebody, I always try to start with something that is much less, just convicting. And so I say, are you okay? And a lot of times people will just pour their heart out and tell you what's been going on. And then it puts whatever the problem has been in perspective. So, they always say correct in private, but compliment in public. And that's just a great axiom to live by. When we go after people, especially when you're an ensemble and somebody does something for the 4th time that week, and you jump right in the middle of them, they just shut down, or they fight or flight. They run out of rehearsal, or they feel awful. So you just you jump down a kid's throat. You're going to find out there are some other factors going on, and then you're going to be the one apologizing. So just develop I guess this is one area where you can really afford to be laid back. Not so much laid back, but I'm just saying you want to be tender-hearted. And you can if a punishment is involved, you can do that later, but you want to know the whole story before you go there. Use humor and care when possible. I wish I was better at the humor thing, but man, if you're in a rehearsal and things aren't going well, if you can pull a joke up and get everybody to laugh, it just relaxes everybody. It's a great technique. So use it when possible. You can't use force to motivate your students. We have to ask them, and they want to please. They want to be good. They want to have a good choir. They want to be a good singer, and they'll listen to you. And if you know what you're talking about, they will do what you ask. All you have to do is ask. Kids need role models. Our words can give life. We can make people feel safe. I remember I've seen teachers, throw music stands and stuff like that, and that just instills fear in people. Don't mistake power for authority. I'm the teacher, you do what I say. Kids see right through that. They don't respect that. But if you, they're going to follow you because they trust you, because you respect them. It's a two-way street. And power is bad, respect is good. If your kids know that you respect them, they'll respect you. And you know what they say, they'll jump off a cliff for you. They will do just about anything because you're a role model and you epitomize authority in all the right ways. Let's see. Students are enamored with you. This is how things can go south. Just be very aware of mixed signals. Helping young people understand appropriate relationships is one of the unspoken responsibilities of all educators. When you're dealing with students that have hormones raging, young high school students and even middle school, students mistake the way they feel for intimacy in music. You're directing quarter notes and half notes, and sometimes these kids are in a total euphoric state of mind, and they think you are wonderful, and you don't always know what's going on in their mind. And so when you couple the lack of maturity with the raging hormones, so I'm saying, especially as a young teacher, keep those boundaries clear and wide. The pandemic social distance is not. I don't want to live like that once we get past the pandemic. But I'm just saying that keeping those boundaries literally and figuratively is the way to do it. Miscellaneous advice. So when you transition from being an undergraduate in college to being a new teacher, you show up to school with a hangover, and people are going to notice, and that is really going to hurt your reputation. So if you're going to be a professional who's in charge of middle school students, and you're riding buses and you're outside, and the magnifying glass is on us as teachers. So don't give anybody any reason to see you as anything less than a true professional. If it's a small town, there may not be many places you can go and have a glass of wine, even though you're of age, you're a professional, you're a teacher. You just want to be careful who's around and who is there, and small towns are their own animals with regards to politics and getting along with people. But just be aware of. But you're no longer an undergrad. You are a professional who is paid for a job, and don't give anybody any reason to think anything less. 2 reasons people lose their jobs is saying something, talk or touch, something inappropriate, and then mishandling money. So don't handle your money. Give your money off to somebody else. Have a third party. There's too much liability. You get an envelope, the student says it's $50, it has 20 written on it. Now we got a problem. So, just find out what the school's policy is. Even universities have money handling policies. Find out what they are, follow the rules, and you will be, your reputation will not be tarnished. To build a program, I used to not believe in this. It's important to use inclusive language. It's our choir, it's not my choir. I think the students subscribe to that. I didn't used to, but now I do. I think, I want this in measure 22. I need it to sound like this. It just can sound very selfish. You say we. Can we do this? Can we make it sound like this? Turn compliments toward everybody else. Treat your students like professionals. They will rise to the occasion. If there's a problem, never blame others. Blame others. Take ownership and solve the problem. Never blame others. If you want to have a successful program, you need to be willing to put in the time. Go in early, go home late. You can afford to do this when you're young. You've got the energy. You've probably got the time. Grow yourself as a professional, which in turn makes your kids even better. your students. But don't ever place your work ahead of yourself and your family. There's a fairly high burnout rate in music educators, and we are the only ones that can keep that from happening. It's important to be successful at work, but no more important than the people who care about you. So go home to your families, and you need time away from the office. Take care of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You can't pour into others from an empty glass. You know, we talk about the Stephen Covey thing and filling up people's buckets. You know, if you're exhausted every day and you work 12-hour days every day and then you have stuff on the weekends, how can you possibly be excited to come to work and encouraged? I'm sure there's a small fragment of the population that can do that, but I don't think most people can. You've got to have time to go home and take care of your own needs. So take care of yourself. Remember, we teach people, not music. Be more interested in the singers, not the song. I mean, early in my career, that was one of my problems. It was all about the music. You know, why can't these kids match pitch? Why am I stuck here in this job? Why am I having to deal with this? You know, and it wasn't that I thought I deserved better per se. I wanted better. But what my kids needed was a father figure. They needed somebody who cared about them and who took an interest in them, who asked them, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Where do you live? What do your parents do? I wasn't interested in that. I wanted music. I wanted to make music. And I was too young and naive to understand that. And I know it now. And I use that example in my classes, my music education classes, all the time. So love your students, make them better singers and better people. If you've done that, you've done your job. Music is just the medium in which we work, but it's all about creating these young people that are the future, creating these people who will contribute to society. You know, I think it's the old adage. I think of it from Alan Hightower, but I don't know if he actually said it. But he says, "So often we use people to make music, but we should be using music to make people." So I think that conveys the point. When you come into a new position, don't change traditions too early. You know, you want to walk in the shoes of the students that are there before you start changing things. Maybe they sing the fight song before the football team charges the field. If you walk in the door and say, "We're not doing that anymore," and you haven't even taught there a month, you're probably going to have some issues, some people that don't like you very much. And to you, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just changing a song. But if they've done it for the last 45 years, that is not something you want to mess with. Maybe next year. Maybe you can convince them of a better idea. But you don't want to walk in the door making changes. Live with it for a while, and then you can mess with it later. And finally, constant self-evaluation. We're constantly thinking about, I know I am, what I do, what worked, what didn't work, how can I do it better? Did I make a mistake there? Constant self-evaluation. If it doesn't work, then fix it. Every year we get to renew ourselves and try new things. We get to do it over. We get to make it better. We get to improve ourselves and therefore improve our programs and improve our students. So remember that, and things just get better and better. But what an opportunity you first-year teachers have. I wish I had heard a session like that. And I'm not some great teacher. I'm just saying that I needed a session like that during my first year. And so I feel called to present that information. And so I know it's a lot of information, but you've got the handout. Please feel free to contact me if you've got maybe a peculiar situation at your school or you need some advice. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to assist anybody in any way, make another friend. Would love to get to know some of you South Dakota folks. So again, thank you to South Dakota music educators for allowing me to present. I hope this was helpful to somebody, and looking forward to visiting your conference by driving up there and actually meeting folks when we get past this period right now. But for now, this will have to do. So have a great year, have a great week, have a great convention, virtual or not. And I look forward to the future and hopefully meeting some of you online or by email. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.